Let me ask a question. What happens when a dictator is arrested? The people who lived under him feel relief, but the loudest protest comes from people who never lived there.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.
Blessings, everybody. This is Damon K. Jones here, and welcome to another edition of the Publisher's Desk. And I'm Black Westchester publisher Damon K. Jones, and this is sponsored by Black Westchester Magazine and blackwestchester.com. Let me ask a question. What happens when a dictator is arrested? The people who lived under him feel relief, but the loudest protest comes from people who never lived there. That's the contradiction we're seeing right now with the arrest of Nicolás Maduro. On one side, many Venezuelan Americans, people who fled economic collapse, repression, and political instability, are quietly saying this was long time coming.
So today for me is a good day because Maduro is out. He is a son of a bitch. I hope this sends a message to the other sons of bitches in the region. You may disagree with the way Trump did it, but it's done. There was no way that it was going to end any other way, because once he started bombing boats, and we've bombed boats and alleged drug boats and killed over 115 people. I think Trump thought getting rid of Maduro was going to be easy and Maduro was going to scare easily. He didn't. It took him doing this. So yeah, he did it without congressional authorization. This was an act of war, all of these things, but it's now done. I think it doesn't escalate from here because the objective of this was to get Maduro out. And certainly there's an oil component. Certainly there's a lot of Trump ego in this about, being able to do it, but it's done. And I, for one, I am very happy that Maduro is out, and I pray and hope for the freedom and peace of Venezuela. Join me in that, please.
On the other side, you see white American liberals flooding protests, calling the arrest imperialism, kidnapping, and violation of international law.
We won't pay for war and slaughter!
We won't pay for war and slaughter! Not only in violation of international law, but also in violation of U.S. law. The president does not have the right to take unilateral military action against another country and detain its president, because it wants to. To take military action against another country, you need approval from Congress, and we did not see that happen. So we're out here to say this is illegal, that we're against what the Trump administration is trying to do, and that we don't want another war.
So why is there such a deep divide? And what does this moment really reveal about ideology, lived experience, and who really actually gets centered in the political outrage? So we're going to break this down today. See, to understand this split, you have to start with who Maduro is to Venezuelans themselves, not as a political symbol, not as a talking point, but as a governing reality.
Some people talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime. We have the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels that have taken over 60% of our populations, and not only involved in drug trafficking, but in human trafficking, in networks of prostitution. So this has turned Venezuela into the criminal hub of the Americas. And what sustained the regime is a very powerful and funded, strongly funded repression system. Where does that funds come from? Well, from drug trafficking, from the black market of oil, from arms trafficking, for human trafficking. We need to cut those flows. And once it happens and repression is weakened, it's over, because that's the only thing the regime has left, violence and terror. So we ask the international community to cut those sources.
Under Maduro's leadership, Venezuela experienced one of the most devastating economic collapse in modern history. Inflation wiped out savings. Food and medicine became scarce. Public services failed. Political opposition was weakened and millions of people fled the country just to survive. For Venezuelan Americans, Maduro isn't an abstract figure in a global power structure. He is the reason parents lost pensions, why families were separated, and why careers ended overnight, and why home became impossible. So when his arrest happens, many Venezuelans didn't rush into the streets to protest or celebrate loudly. They paused, they processed it, they watched carefully. But for them, this moment isn't theoretical, it's personal.
Meantime, local Venezuelans are sharing a different opinion on Maduro's capture. We spoke with multiple LA residents who lived in Venezuela on why they prefer uncertainty over the country's future compared to Maduro's rule.
It is uncertain, but it is, even whatever happens, it's gonna be better than what it was. That's what everybody's thinking. Like, nothing can be worse than what they were going through before this happened. So now we have Maria Corina Machado. Everybody has their trust in her, and she's doing great. Like, she just got the Nobel Peace Prize, and she just keeps going, and she is actually doing what she promised. She said, I'm gonna help Venezuela become free. And we see it. Like, it's not just words, we see actions.
I think it was the only option that we really had, since Venezuelan people are not allowed to own guns and protect themselves, and we couldn't really fight against them, against the regime in Venezuela. So the only option was intervention from the US. So we really support what Donald Trump has done.
Why we are so happy? Because we've been in jail for so many years. We've been in this country, my country in Venezuela, can you imagine, there's no food, he controls everything. We be controlled by these people, not only him, Diosdado Cabello, and everybody is around him. We cry because now somebody do something. This president is the first president. They do something. We don't know what is going to happen, but at least this is the first step. It's hope for every Venezuelan.
Now contrast that to how white progressive activism often approaches global politics. Many white liberals operate from a framework where the United States is assumed to be a central aggressor in nearly every international conflict. In that worldview, American power is the primary problem. And as leaders who oppose the U.S. are often framed first as victims of imperialism before they even evaluated their actual record. See, inside that framework, Maduro stops being judged by outcomes inside Venezuela, and instead he becomes a symbol of resistance to U.S. influence, capitalism, and Western dominance. That's why many protests aren't centered around the Venezuelan voices or Venezuelan outcomes. They centered around opposing the United States itself, opposing Donald Trump. The signs, the chants, and the rhetoric often say more about American politics than Venezuelans' reality.
This is stupid because they don't know what's going on in Venezuela. They don't from Venezuela.
We're outside the Federal Detention Center in Brooklyn, where Venezuela's Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores are being held. And we are seeing dozens of people right outside chanting, "No bombing Venezuela" and "No war on Venezuela," demanding the U.S. to release the couple immediately.
I think President Maduro should be returned to Venezuela, and the United States should start meddling in the Caribbean and in Venezuela.
So far, I have not seen any Venezuelan nationals in this protest. On the other hand, Venezuelans in the community here in New York City are celebrating the capture of Nicolás Maduro.
We don't want Maduro go back to Venezuela. He has to stay here. If they are not from Venezuela, they really don't know what happened in Venezuela.
Nicolás Maduro and his wife spent the night inside of this federal detention center in Brooklyn while they await to see a federal judge to be formally arraigned on narco-terrorism charges, and that could happen as soon as Monday.
The protest becomes less about righting the wrong in Venezuela and more about ideological consistency at home. This is where the real divide sits. Venezuelan Americans tend to think in terms of outcome. Did my people eat? Did the hospitals function? Did my family survive? Were there opportunities, stability, and freedom? White liberals, activists often think in terms of power structure. Who challenged the United States? Who opposes capitalism? Who fights into broader anti-imperialist narrative? See, that's why Venezuelan Americans say Maduro destroyed our country, while white liberals say the U.S. had no right to arrest him. See, those statements aren't even answering the same question. One is responding to lived damage, the other responding to ideological alignment. Many Venezuelan Americans aren't out protesting because they lived through instability before. They know removing a leader doesn't automatically bring peace, prosperity, or democracy. They want to see what comes next. They want to see who governs. They want to see whether Venezuela is allowed to shape its own future or whether foreign interests will step in. See, they're cautious because experience taught them to be. So instead of chanting slogans, they're watching closely. See, because we've seen this pattern before. This dynamic isn't unique to Venezuela. We've seen it with Cuba, Haiti, parts of Africa, and the Middle East. Western activists speak loudly. Local voices are often sidelined. Complex realities are flattened into simple moral narratives. See, dictators become symbols. Civilians become background noise. It's a pattern where representation replaces accountability and ideology replaces listening. So, what does this moment really expose in American politics? This moment exposes something uncomfortable, brothers and sisters. It shows how often activism is about self-expression rather than solidarity. It shows how outrage can be more about maintaining ideological purity than grappling with human cause. It also helps explain why many Venezuelan Americans feel politically homeless. Their lived experience encapsulates simple narratives, and complexity isn't always welcome in modern activism. See, when your trauma disrupts the story, you often get pushed aside. So here's the real truth of this story. You can oppose U.S. intervention and still acknowledge that Maduro devastated his country. You can believe in accountability matters, but still demand restraint going forward. But when protests are dominated by people who never lived the consequences, while the people who did are ignored, that isn't solidarity, that's substitution. And if politics is really about people and outcomes, not symbols, then the voices closest to the pain should never be the quietest in the room. Thank you for listening. Hope you like and share and leave a comment. Do you think it was a good thing for President Trump to go in and grab Maduro? Or do you think they should let him go and send him back and continue to destroy the country? Please like and share and follow. And go to Black Westchester magazine, blackwestchester.com. It's the news with the Black point of view. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay Blacktastic. Peace out.
Tired of the same emotional politics that lead nowhere. Emotional Politics, Logical Failure by Damon K. Jones is the book Black America needs right now. It exposes the lies, challenges the gatekeepers, and calls for real strategy, not just symbolism. Power starts with truth. On sale, now, and available in audiobook on Amazon.
Tolerance is for Cowards by Damon K. Jones. This book is not anti-police, it's pro-community. Discover how the extended policing strategy empowers you to demand real public safety, justice, and accountability from your local police department. Because the Black community deserves good policing. On sale now on Amazon and Audible. Discover Jesus and Divine Black Masculinity by Damon K. Jones. This a bold blueprint to restore faith, manhood, and purpose in Black America. Because the Black community needs good Black men. Available now on Amazon. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and share it with others who need to hear the truth. And for exclusive content and behind the scenes access, Join the Black Westchester Magazine YouTube membership club today. Your support helps us keep independent Black media strong. Support independent Black media with style. Rock Black Westchester merch and represent the news with the Black point of view. Every purchase helps us speak truth to power.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.